following is a presentation of WLCN 96.3 FM and WLCNonline.com. This live video stream is made possible in part by WLCN's live stream technology sponsor, Me Realty, located at 602 Keokuk Street in Lincoln, and online at merealty.com.
Hi, welcome everyone to Viewpoint on 96.3 FM. Today is May 15th, and I can't believe we're halfway through the month. Wow, where's time gone to? Before we get to our special guest today, I want to give a special shout out, kudos, and kind of bring to everybody's attention the Land of Lincoln Honor Flight. They flew yesterday. It was their 70th flight. So kudos to them. Kudos to the guardians that go and assist and be there with the veterans. And also thank you to our veterans for serving. Thank you. Freedom does not come free, so we appreciate all of you. They've got 2 more flights coming up. The 71st flight is going to be August 27th, and the 72nd flight is going to be October 15th. They do, again, like I said, fly out of the Springfield Airport. If you would like to be a guardian, they do need that. You can call 217-585-1219, or you can go to their website, landoflincolnhonorflight.org. I know our own Bill Gossett got to partake on that. He absolutely loves it, promotes it as well. And our special guest with us today, Reagen Tibbs, his grandfather, Bob Gordon, he was in 2015. He got to fly, right?
Yes, absolutely, 2015. I don't remember which flight he was on in 2015, but him and my mom went out to D.C. for that.
Mom was a guardian.
Yep.
So that's neat, something special, a great bonding time.
And he absolutely loved it, and we still have, he passed away a couple years ago, we still have all the letters that he got on the flight back that everybody could write to him, and so we still hold on to those as a memory from that day.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. And then, of course, too, people get to come when they land there and give them a hero's welcome.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of people that show up at the Springfield Airport to greet the veterans, I mean, we were there at least 2 hours before the flight even landed, and it was already packed 2 hours before. So to see the amount of people that come out to, and Springfield isn't a big airport,
right.
So getting there to see the amount of people that show up to welcome back our veterans from that trip is amazing as well.
That's great. That's great. Again, folks, the phone number, if you want to find out more information, you can call 217-585-1219. So Reagen, you're local.
Yep.
Local guy. I've known you for forever, I guess you could say, watch you growing up in 4-H and whatnot. You're a very talented man, I should say. And but anyway, you currently right now are the educator for commercial ag here at the U of I Cooperative Extension Office. But you serve not just Logan County, you also serve Menard and Sangamon counties too.
That's correct.
Well.
Yeah. So we have our 3-county unit here, Logan, Menard, and Sangamon. And I started here with Extension in January of 2024 is when I started. And like you said, I'm from Logan County, born and raised. Our family lives near Broadwell. We raised purebred shorthorn cattle, and we've been doing that for I think about 60 years is what I was told the other day. So Logan County born and raised, and so it's nice to be back here and give back to a county that has given me and my family so much over the years.
So how'd you get your start within the Cooperative Extension Office there?
So I found out about the position in the last spring, about this time of year actually, is when the position was opened up and made public. And I had talked with Terry Casey, who's our county director here, who serves all 3 counties as well. And she said, you might want to look into joining Extension, because at that time I was on kind of the back part of my thesis work up at ISU, and I wanted to see what job opportunities were out there. When I saw that there was an ag educator position here in my home county and it served all 3 counties, I jumped on that opportunity, and so I applied for that position, went through the interview process, and then I was actually in Burlington, Vermont during the week of county fair, and we just landed there for a conference, and I took my phone off airplane mode. I had a text from Terry saying, "Hey, give me a call. I have something to tell you." And as I was walking through the terminal there in Burlington Airport, and that's when she said, "We want to offer you the position." So that's how I got my start with Extension. But I've been with Extension, through 4-H for the most of my youth. So.
Neat. Kind of grew up with it, and it's in your blood.
Hollander's 4-H, best 4-H club in the county.
Nice special plug there.
Yes, absolutely.
So what does your job entail? What does a commercial ag educator do? What do you do exactly?
Yeah, so I would say I have 2 kind of main parts that I do with my job. One is providing educational opportunities to farmers and other stakeholders in terms of bringing speakers from campus or speakers from the local area that are relevant and impactful to agriculture, and bringing them to provide those opportunities to farmers. So, for example, in February we had the Heartland Beef Alliance had a meeting in our office here in Logan County in Lincoln. They had a meeting about cow-calf health and kind of preparing ourselves for calving season, because at that point point. A lot of producers hadn't started calving yet. We had at that point. But that was, bringing those people together to learn the latest and greatest information about cow-calf health. So we had Dr. Jason Rage talk about some developments that he had learned about recently. I kind of talked about, how can we prepare our calving barns? What materials do we need to have in case something goes wrong? How do we keep our pens clean? How do we keep the environment healthy and safe for our calves, our cattle and our calves? Then we had Travis Mateer, who's one of our beef specialists with University of Illinois Extension. He kind of talked about the Illinois Performance Tested Bull Sale and some other things he had been researching as well. And then we ended up with Mrs. Pesh. Betsy Pesh talked about her experience at the beef convention a few weeks before that in Orlando. So that's one thing I provide to farmers and stakeholders in this area. Another thing I do is kind of direct information, direct contacts as well. So I've had a lot of people calling in and coming into my office here in Lincoln and also in our other offices as well since I've started asking questions about different things. It's been, my crops, or alfalfa is one I've been working on a lot of recently. My alfalfa isn't looking very good, and I don't know what's going on. Can you help me with it? That's one thing I'm able to help do. I've also done some work on lawns as well. Not quite my area of expertise, but at least able to give people the resources they need to help them understand what's going on. So those are the two big things that I do with my job, and advocating for kind of the agricultural community and ensuring that our farmers and our producers have the resources they need to continue to supply us with the food, fuel, and fiber that we need. Because agriculture is important to all three of our counties.
Right.
And so Extension provides that sort of non-biased, here's the information, here's how we can help you make your operations better with that information.
So has that position we didn't have somebody in that position right before you for quite a while.
Correct.
Now. So.
And that's the thing, the leadership on campus has seen that there's that need across our state in terms of unit-based educators like myself. There are only 4 or 5 of us for commercial agriculture that are based in specific counties across the state. We have our statewide specialists, but no one in counties working locally with producers to help them get those questions solved and provide those educational resources. So the leadership on campus has really given a focus and an attention to getting more of those educators back into our communities and serving our most important sector of our economy, agriculture.
Basically, boots on ground, hands on, and
exactly, because that's how Extension started, right? That was part of the land grant mission that the U of I and other universities were founded on, and so we want to ensure that we are continuing that land grant mission by supporting farmers.
Well, we're very, very blessed then to have you in our area. So
thank you, and I'm happy to be here.
That's wonderful. So, what are you seeing right now? I heard on the news in Jacksonville they did find an Asian tick, or longhorn tick, I should say. What can you make light of that? What do you have for us? What information do you want to share?
Yeah, so from my understanding, the case in Morgan County was first discovered in April of 2024. They found the tick, but they weren't sure of what type of tick it was, and then just recently confirmed it was the Asian longhorn tick. And so it's an invasive species. And one of the things that people need to be aware of is that this tick it doesn't just attack animals, it also attacks humans as well. And it can make people and animals sick. There's some evidence from other countries that have infestations of the tick that it can kill animals in a very severe case, but we don't have any evidence of that here yet in the United States. So it's something that we really want to draw attention to, especially now as we're kind of getting into the springtime. We're getting high grass, where we're seeing a lot of insect activity, especially since we have a warmer spring. A lot of insects have become more active earlier than we normally would expect. And so one thing we're asking, take the necessary precautions. If you're going out into those high grassy areas, if you're going near a wooded area, that's where these ticks where we think they really like to thrive. So, if you're somebody that's going out there, taking the necessary precautions, wear your kind of your pants or your longer sleeves, that way they don't get on you. If you do see one, take the necessary steps to remove it from you. We have a fact sheet that you can call our office or come into our office. We're happy to provide you with some information. But for livestock producers particularly, we think that whatever products we use now for tick control within our livestock, that the Asian longhorn tick is susceptible to that, but we don't have any sound research on that yet. We're still working on that. And so if you do have specific questions or you think you're dealing with that, call your veterinarian. They'll be able to give you more direct advice than we can in Extension. But we do have resources through Extension. Teresa Steckler, she's one of our commercial ag specialists based at the Dixon Springs Research Center in Southern Illinois. She's been living, breathing, and eating these things since we've kind of heard about them. So she has a lot of great resources on that as well.
That's wonderful, because I've seen on social media, it seems like a lot right now. People are saying, wow, ticks are being more and more prevalent spring, right now than they have been in years past.
Right.
Like they've come out quicker right now. So
And we're seeing that with different insects. I was doing alfalfa field the other week, and we were seeing alfalfa weevils. Normally, we don't see that till later on. Kind of more about this time, kind of moving into June. We were seeing them in beginning of April or toward the middle of April.
wow.
So again, we had that warm spell kind of in April that we normally wouldn't expect to see, and that gave those insects the time to get out there and do a lot of that earlier damage than we would expect them to.
So have you seen much, speaking of alfalfa then, have you guys seen much damage then to, the first cutting crop coming up then for cattlemen and farmers or not?
I would guess it depends. The particular case I was looking at there, it depended on, so there were some plants that weren't affected, some that were. We didn't get a certain count of how many there were, but there was evidence of damage in that particular case. So I guess it would just depend kind of what farmers are individually seeing on their operations, and so if you're not sure you're dealing with that, feel free to give me a call. I've become learned a lot about alfalfa. We've grown it on our operation for many years for our cattle, but I never really learned a lot about the science behind growing it and a lot of the management and care of it. That's one thing I've been able to do since I started with Extension, is be that resource for us and for farmers in the area. So if you're not sure if you have alfalfa weevils, give me a call, and I'm more than happy to help you out.
Wonderful. Jim, do you want to we'll take a quick time out, pay some bills real quick, and then when we come back, we'll return with Reagen Tibbs.
Brian Clark State Farm offers a range of insurance products to fit your unique needs and give you a peace of mind. Our dedicated team helps you find the perfect policy to safeguard your biggest investments. Brian Clark State Farm can steer you in the right direction on auto insurance, and we've got your home covered from natural disasters to unexpected accidents. Contact me, State Farm Agent Brian Clark, at 217-732-6211 or visit sfinsurelincoln.com. Go Railers!
Full Gospel Evangelistic Center makes an impact locally and beyond through a wide range of events, ministries, and outreaches. Pastors Steve and Debbie Owens invite you to worship Sunday mornings at 10:30 and attend Wednesday night Bible studies at 6:30. Connect with FGEC online, follow them on Facebook, download their app, and visit their new website at myfgec.org with live YouTube video streams as well as recordings of services and special events. Full Gospel Evangelistic Center, 304 North McLean Street in Lincoln. Whether you're buying or selling your home, the brokers of Me Realty will work with you to get the deal done. As one of Central Illinois' top producing offices for decades, Me Realty has the experience to guide you through the process. You want results? Call the brokers of Me Realty at 217-735-5424, stop by the office at 602 Keokuk Street in Lincoln, or check out local listings online at merealty.com.
Culver's is a family restaurant. To me, that means being the place that puts a smile on everyone's face. We're famous for our cooked-to-order butter burgers and frozen custard made daily inside our restaurants. But we've always believed more menu options mean more ways to brighten your day. We source the finest chicken to bring you our tenders and chicken sandwiches. And our cheese curds. They're a Wisconsin tradition we're proud to share with you. So take the next meal shift off and let us take care of you. Welcome to Delicious.
Culver's, home of the Butterburger, 2530 Woodlawn Road in Lincoln.
Hi, thank you. And we're back on 96.3 FM WLCN. And if you have any questions at all for Reagen, the phone number is 217-648-5510. We do welcome calls. And Reagen, as I said, is our educator commercial ag here at the U of I's Extension Office. He serves Logan, Menard, and Sangamon counties. We're truly blessed, you can say, to have him here with us, serving our areas. And we're in planting season, folks, if you haven't realized that yet. And I know my brother Sunday night was planting till about 12:30, so he's still not done. And there's some guys that are and some guys that are not.
Yeah.
What have you seen from, a crop planting progress report for our area?
I was describing to somebody the other day, and I said, this is probably one of the most variable planting seasons I can remember, in that we have a period where we can go, and then we have a long period we have to stop and wait. So the USDA came out with their crop planting progress report Monday, I believe it was. In Illinois, we have 42% of our corn acres and 39% of our soybean acres have been planted, and that's for the state. They don't narrow that down specifically to each county.
Right.
What I'll say is that I kind of see something similar here in this area, that we have a lot of crop acres that the ones that were planted kind of earlier are started to emerge. There are some that are still in the process of being planted, and we've had to wait because of all the rain we've gotten, and the rains we've had the last couple days have put a damper on those plans. We had a really nice spell over the last part of the week. The weekend was really great, and I knew a lot of people were out there active. My uncle manages a fertilizer plant, and he was busy over the weekend with spraying and getting those, helping those farmers with that. Behind, if you look at the 5-year planting average the USDA puts out, so we are behind. The 5-year average for corn is 56% planted, and for soybeans it's 43% planted, so we are behind that average, but I think we'll catch up. Hopefully, I think today we have a little bit of a break from the rain, but the next couple days I think we still have some more rain coming in. I will say, after last year, I'm thankful for rain. After last summer, I think a lot of us are thankful, and the fact that we didn't have a lot of precipitation over the winter as well.
True.
That definitely put an impact, not just for farmers, but on like our wells and stuff as well. So right now, we're not in any drought conditions as well, so that really helps. But for the week between the 5th of May and the 12th of May, which is how USDA looks at it for their crop planting progress, they said we only had about 2.3 days of suitable field work. So that is putting an impact on our ability to get the crops in the ground, and we saw that in the markets a little bit. Our corn prices reflected that a little bit. And another thing we saw too, you would think, if we're having delayed planting, our corn and our soybean prices are going to go up in our markets. That actually wasn't the case. Soybeans, and this was on Monday, soybean prices actually went down. The reason is, and this is something that others have looked at, is if our corn is planted later, the later we get on, farmers will have the decision, and some will make the decision of planting soybeans instead of that corn. So that means we're going to see more soybean acres than we were initially planning on, and so more soybeans using supply and demand, the price is going to go down a little bit. And there was a recent article from FarmDoc, Dr. Scott Irwin over on campus, ag economist, big on biofuels and looking at corn. He did a study looking at weather trends and how that's affected average yield in the U.S. And he said, let me see here, that for each percent late that a corn is planted in the U.S., we lose about 0.35 bushels to the acre in terms of national average yield. So, for example, if we're 10% late, then, or if 10% of our corn acres are planted late, that equates to about a 3.5 acre reduction in the national corn average yield.
Well, because that's what I heard, that some guys were talking, like if we can't get it done by the 15th, corn, then we're going to probably just switch over and transition those corn acres over to bean acres and plant them. So
and that's where we'll see, the USDA has their projections out on how many corn acres, how many soybean acres we're going to plant. I think those numbers are going to be changed here once we get planting. Once the USDA starts looking at the data of how many acres were planted in corn, how many acres were planted in soybeans. And granted, we were going to see slightly more soybean acres this year compared to last year, but I think definitely we're going to see a lot more.
Yeah, because I believe the report, correct me if I'm wrong, that I heard the other day, Illinois last year was second in the nation behind Iowa for corn production, but bean production we were first, ranked first in the nation.
Yes. And in Logan County for yields, I believe for soybeans, we were about 67 bushels to the acre, which was above the state average. I think the state average is at 63 bushels to the acre. In corn, I believe our average yield here in the county, in Logan County, was about 211 bushels to the acre, if my memory serves correctly, which was still above the state average. So, for a drier year, nobody would expect that we had. I mean, those are decent. I'm not going to call them fantastic. They're not the best ones we've ever had, but you have to thinking about that though in the consideration of the higher input costs that we have.
Right.
That definitely put a lot of pressure, and we're seeing a lot of that pressure this year now, not only with just our higher input prices, but also our commodity markets being in flux a lot. So,
well, speaking of inputs, leads me into my next question for you. Mm-hmm. Farmland values and cash rent. I mean, you're seeing some reports that some acres are bringing, or some farm ground, I should say, is bringing about $17,000 to $18,000, $22,000, an acre. And so, people are just shaking their heads going, you got to be kidding me. Mm-hmm. And it really hasn't tapered off, has it, or not?
No, it definitely hasn't. I have to, before I talk about this, I have to give a lot of credit to my advisor up at ISU, Dr. Maria Burns, and she does a lot of work with the Illinois Society of Professional Farm Managers and Rural Appraisers who observes land values, and she was active in that, and she kind of looking at farmland values and whatnot. So I have to give a lot of credit to Dr. B for that. But yes, farmland values are continuing to go up. So I was at their meeting, the Land Values Conference in Bloomington. That was back in March, where they kind of previewed the sales that went on in 2023, the farmland sales, the auctions that went on in 2023. For excellent farm ground, so our top flight farm ground, from 2022, the average sale price per acre was up 6%. That doesn't sound like a lot, but let me put it into context what it was in 2020. We're up 55% from 2020.
Holy
right
cow.
now, we're at, for excellent farm ground in 2023, the average sale price was $16,909 an acre.
Yeah.
For good ground, which I think a lot of us do have, especially here in this part of the state, we were at $12,726 an acre, which was that was the average for sales in 2023. That's up 7% from 2022, 51% from 2020. So farmland values have continued just absolutely skyrocket in the last couple of years. Now, I don't know if we're going to see that continue. At some point, we might see kind of a correction, if you would, in that. But the price is definitely gone. And even cash rents as well. I was looking at USDA data the other day, and they had that for Logan County, the average cash rent was $337 an acre. That's from USDA data.
Wow.
And according to them also, the state average was $259 the acre. So we're considerably higher. It's a great thing that we have that valuable resource of our soils here in this county that are so good. But again, we're seeing those higher cash rent values.
And you wonder how high, how much higher is this going to go? Is it going to plateau, or or what? Is it going to level out and start to be more affordable? Because besides your cash rent, your other inputs is fuel. Fuel prices have not gone down.
Prices and things like fertilizers as well. We saw record highs a couple of years ago, and they went down a little bit more to earth, but they're still pretty high from where they were before, kind of especially pre-COVID. They're still pretty high, and those input prices aren't going down necessarily anytime soon, especially all pre-pandemic. So if you ask some of the experts, they might have some might say, oh yeah, we might see it level off. Some might say we might see a decline. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert in this, so but I definitely think we might see some sort of change in this next year. We may not see the high levels, in terms of increases that we've had the past couple of years, but it is interesting to keep an eye on.
Well, plus the maintenance. Something breaks on the tractor. So then you've got your. I'm not picking on your equipment dealers, but they've got employees, et cetera, et cetera. And prices for everything.
We just had inflation numbers come out this morning. I don't remember what that was, like 3.4%, I think. Don't quote me on that. But inflation isn't slowing down the way we would expect it to. So that is impact on a lot of things that we're using, not just in agriculture, but just in our general, everyday lives. So, and
it's making it harder for the smaller family farms to operate.
Absolutely.
Then, obviously,
for sure, and that's one thing we in Extension can do. We can provide you those resources if you're dealing with those sorts of things. How can you implement different practices to help you with that? Our cover crops an option, our different application methods an option. Those are resources that we can provide through Extension. That research on those different areas.
What things are you wanting to bring to the surrounding surrounding counties that you serve. What do you see in the future that you want to do, there at Extension for us?
So I actually have a solid answer for that on you. Rather than just saying, oh, this is what I want to have. January 21st, I think, of 2025, in the Springfield area. We're not sure the location, but we're calling it the Illinois Agronomy Summit. So it's in cooperation with the Crop Management Conference, which is usually a big conference that happens in Champaign and Sycamore up in northern Illinois, where there are experts from campus that come and talk about what they see kind of moving into the crop production year. What we've wanted to do is bring those sorts of resources to our local area, because a lot of farmers aren't able to get to Champaign or Sycamore. So what we've decided to do is that, working with educators like myself in our units, we're bringing those sorts of same principles, those same speakers, to the local area. So what we're going to do, we haven't picked the topics yet. We have the date identified. We don't have a location or speakers yet, but we're going to bring in speakers from campus that will talk about those topics that are important for agronomic production. So, we bring in people that talk about nutrient management. We could talk about cover crops. We could talk about insects. We have a lot of different resources that we have on campus into the local area, and of course I'll probably talk about something as well.
Awesome.
But so that is one thing I'm bringing into the area, that when I saw the opportunity to have that here in the area, I said absolutely, we need to bring that in here, especially since, like you mentioned earlier, we haven't had an ag educator in this area for a long time through Extension. And so if that's one thing that I can bring into the local area and hopefully keep it going over the next couple of years, that's something I'm really looking forward to do.
That's great. That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. Anything else you're thinking about creating, any groups or anything like that, or anything
absolutely.
else you need to
So
do?
One thing I'm going to be doing, the next kind of big thing that's on my plate, is a needs assessment. It's one thing for me to sit here and say, I think this is important for farmers, but it's another thing to actually hear it from farmers and stakeholders in our area. So I'm working on a needs assessment survey. I don't know when it's going to be quite available yet. We're still working through some of the details with campus on that. But essentially, it's going to be a way for farmers and other stakeholders in the area to provide their voice and say, these are the educational topics we want you to bring to the area. These are the topics we want to learn about, and part of that is I want to form like an agricultural advisory group for me to help keep me on track of, hey, these are the programs we think you need to be providing to the area. Hey, let's maybe we can look at doing something like this. And also too, Extension actually has a research plot over in Hartsburg that's been with Extension for many, I think over 100 years at this point. And so how do we use that to provide those educational opportunities as well? That's one thing this group would do for me as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. Utilize all local resources and bring that back. And
exactly.
Wonderful.
Exactly. It's a way to keep me kind of on the straight and narrow, because I could sit there in my office and say, I think this is important, but to hear it from producers, to hear it from people that are in the community
of what they need, and meet their needs.
Exactly.
Neat. Well, if folks need to get in contact with you, how do they do so? Everything, if they've got questions, what's the best way of reaching you?
Yes, you could call our Lincoln office. The number there is 217-732-8289. You can call there. If I'm usually in the Lincoln office. If I'm not there, I'm either in Menard County or Sangamon County, but they'll send me a message saying, hey, we got a phone call for you. Or you can email me, rgtibbs@illinois.edu is a great way to email me as well. Or come by the office. Like I said, if I'm not in Logan County, I'm usually in Menard or Sangamon County. So they'll definitely get a message to me that someone's coming and asking questions. So those are the best ways to get a hold of me. And if you see me out in the community, stop me and say, hey, I have a question about this, and I'm more than happy to help you.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, Reagen, thank you for being here. That's great. Yeah. You're a wonderful, new, exciting resource, I should say, for the community. And folks, thank you for tuning into Viewpoint. The Lord and weather willing, we'll be back next week.
This live video stream is made possible in part by WLCN's live stream technology sponsor, Me Realty, located at 602 Keokuk Street in Lincoln, and online at merealty.com. The preceding program is a presentation of WLCN 96.3 FM and WLCNonline.com.